So Gus, you've been very eloquent in arguing for the importance of good bureaucracy and a strong public service in serving the public good. What are your main reasons for taking that view?
Well, first of all, it's massively important to the economy. Total public spending is 45% of GDP. If that's not as productive as it can be, then our economy is not going to do well. Secondly, the most disadvantaged people in any society desperately rely on the state in various ways. Now, maybe we should be trying very hard to reduce that dependency, but the fact is that there will be a role for the state, and every day I spend in the House of Lords, somebody dreams up a new idea that the state should be involved in. So I think if the state is going to play an important part, and I think in terms of, even if you believe in a minimalist government, there are various things like defence and tackling some of the underlying social problems that I think most people would say, health, education and the like, we really should be there, then we need to do it well, and we need a smart bureaucracy that manages that. And I've argued that the reason that we need bureaucrats is because actually bureaucratic systems, not just in government but in the private sector, actually result in very fair outcomes. They treat people the same way. They don't care whether you're black, white, whether your language is bad or not. And the more we move to kind of bureaucratic, and particularly the modern bureaucratic systems which are digitized, online services, the more we'll see this way of actually producing better customer service, more impartial, treating everybody the same, but doing it when people want to use those services, then I think that's really important.
You talked about the need for bureaucracy to be smart. What are the analytic skills that a smart bureaucracy now needs? And how have those skills changed during your time in government?
A smart bureaucracy needs to really understand the way people make decisions and choices, why they are where they are, so why they need public services in the first place. And too often, I think bureaucracies have jumped to, let's provide things for them. Let's provide benefits for people if they're out of work, as opposed to, actually, if someone's out of work, let's get them back into work. That's the first thing. So smart bureaucracies will actually understand the mechanisms behind why people make certain choices, why they need certain public services, and how to actually get them to a stage where they are self-reliant and actually contributing best to society.
Can you give us any examples of academic research that's changed the way that policymakers and bureaucrats have thought about or approached public policy issues?
Well, if we go back in time, I think all of the work about reinventing government, I think, was crucial. I think more recently, the whole revolution in behavioural science has made a big impact. I mean, I know a lot more people have bought Danny Kahneman's book than have read it, but if you look at things like what Danny Kahneman's saying, Steven Pinker's book on Beyond the Angels of Our Nature, I think people are now starting to realise that we need to understand the human psyche better. We need to get a much more multidisciplinary approach to public policy issues than we've traditionally had in the past.
Are there any types of research that you'd like to see done more extensively?
Yes. I mean, the whole opening up of the behavioural area has created an enormous area. We've got great developments in science in areas like climate change. The pace of progress is quite rapid, but turning that progress and the new ideas into actual public policy suggestions can be a real gulf. Sometimes the academics can stay in their ivory tower, and there's a real need for people that translate the brilliant ideas into, so what does this really mean for public policy? And I think one of the most needed talents, if you like, is those people that translate, that understand public policy and how that works, and the politics and the whole administration aspect of it, but also understand the kind of breakthroughs in the various academic subjects, the new research. What is it that Reinhardt and Rogoff say about debts and deficits that actually is still very useful even after you've adjusted the numbers? And I think there are some things that are still useful.
And you talked about the need for research to be translated for policymakers. Can you think of any ways in which academic researchers and policymakers might more effectively be brought together?
Yes, first of all, dialogue. I mean, that's an obvious thing to say, but I think dialogue is not as easy as it should be because we've all got different languages. You know, I think we need the anthropologist here to say, look, there's a number of tribes here. The academic tribe are driven by the desire to publish. When you look at the way the academics write, it's in their own language, and it's a language all of its own. We need some translators, and just the same, people working in government. You know, we have our own set of acronyms for everything. We have our own ways of doing things, which are our own language and our own kind of device to preserve our mystique. And we need someone to come up with a common language, to come up with ways of actually why are we all looking at this different subject in different ways, and how does this result in something at the end which will change the way people behave, which will solve those problems. So if you come up with, for example, climate change, there are some brilliant scientists thinking of new ways, and in the end, you know, we want to actually change the way we want to convince people to turn off the tap when they're brushing their teeth, or to operate their electricity in a different way. You know, there's that whole range from the macro, the brilliant scientists, down to the everyday lives of people, which can, if all brought together with a common language, can really make fantastic progress.